Hi, my name is Scott Childress, and I'm president of National Security and Door. What you're looking at here today is a demonstration model that we put together to show access control lockdown notification system. This type of door control could be used in educational communities, medical, government, pretty much anywhere you would have a group of people meeting in large areas. And what I wanted to just share with you today is to kind of kick off this demonstrations. We've got several videos. We'll show you more detail, but I wanted to kind of give you the layout of the actual demo unit. So when you look at it, this section down here, this is basically representative of the exterior of the building and some of the equipment and features that are out here, which we'll go into later. Once you enter the building, you would be into the foyer area, a hallway area. And there's equipment and options in here that we'll discuss later. And then finally, when you come through the door, you're into, say, the classroom area. And this is indicative of what features you might find in a classroom or an office suite area. And finally, down on the very end kind of represents the central command, where the computer is, where everything is monitored and you can control everything. And so what we're going to do in these subsequent videos is we're going to show you the actual equipment and details and just go a little more in depth on what we can do with this equipment. Now that I've shown you a little bit about the different areas in the demo, I'd like to take a few minutes and point out some of the actual components that's in each area and just generally what they are. And a little later in the demo, we'll show you how a lot of it really works. When we look in the exterior portion of the demo, there's several things to talk about. I guess the first being a card reader. Now the card readers come in many forms: MagStripe, Smart Card, Proximity, and nowadays you can get a multi-technology reader that will actually do all three, which enables us to basically grow an older system into a newer technology. Another feature here is this strobe light up here is a piece that's used. It represents when this system goes into lockdown, we've got an indicator light from the outside of the building. So if someone approaches the building, this is just, if this is going off, you'll know the system's in lockdown. Another important piece of the whole security lockdown process is the actual door itself. This exterior door is aluminum, and what we've done here is we've tried to create a non-chainable environment. So when there's pairs of doors, they can't be chained together, and you can lock people in and out. And so we've worked on it, developing a system, whether it's hollow metal or aluminum, that we can accomplish this. This particular door has a full mortise continuous hinge. You'll notice the recessed pull, so there's no lever sticking off or knob to wrap a chain around. And when I open the door, you can't really see it in the video, but at the top of the door we have a contact here that allows us to monitor the position of the door as to whether it's open or closed. And so that's the main features on the outside. And next we'll move into the interior lobby or the hallway and take a look at what's there. Okay, now that we're in the lobby, we've come from the outside. We've had a valid entry. We're in the lobby area. Some things that go on in here. The first one I would mention is we do have camera system in here. Now the camera system is integrated with the access control system. So when certain alarm events or certain situations happen, we can cut those cameras on automatically and record those events. You'll notice in the middle here we have a keypad. Now with this, the keypad does a lot of things, but one of the more important things we do, we can also do an intrusion alarm system built right in with the access control. And whether we just pick out, small interior area that we want to alarm, or if you want to do a broad scale whole building, we can alarm those points. Once we have those door contacts on them that I showed you in the exterior, we can build alarm systems right off the same equipment with no additional charges or anything. Another area you'll notice right down these small doors, what we've just tried to represent here is like, say, a hurricane evacuation. The one thing you can do with the access control lockdown system is as well as I can lock down all the doors, I can open them all up. So if there was a hurricane situation and we needed to open the doors for buildings so people could get into an emergency shelter, that's what that represents. We can unlock the doors just as easily as lock them. Another thing you might notice is you haven't seen any wires shown anywhere, and our goal, and I won't say it happens every time, but our goal when we do this is to do all concealed wiring, whether we're doing it, with door cords like we've done here, or on this one we're using butt hinges to conceal the wire. But that's kind of a goal of the system when we install it, so you don't see any wiring. Not always possible, but in most time we can. And that's kind of the main features that goes on in the lobby. Now we'll transition into the inside of the classroom and take a look what's in there. The last area we get to is the classroom section. We've built this part of the model to resemble what might go on in a classroom environment. It could be translated into, say, an office area environment. But what like I say, what we kind of pointed at was the classroom in here, and that's kind of the theme of it. To give you an idea of, there's a lot going on in here, and to give you an idea of some of the equipment, I'll just start right here. You may or may not be able to see, there's a button that we've located right at the door that you can push the button and lock the door immediately. We also have a armature on the door. The purpose of that is to hold the door open. What we've done here is we've eliminated people putting a chair in the door or stuffing a book in the door, and then in an emergency situation you've got a problem there getting the door closed. Some other things, we do have indicator lights above the door. You'll see those function a little later that let us know the status of the door, whether it's locked or unlocked, or are we in lockdown. I'll point out that these indicator lights that we've used could grow up to be full-blown signs that might say lockdown in progress. We can turn that on just as well as we can turn on an LED light. For the purposes of the demo unit, we just put something here that was small that we could handle. We also have a camera in the classroom. In this case, this camera, we kind of envision it to watch the lockdown device, wherever the lockdown device might be. Purpose, if you lift that cover, we have a switch in there that will trigger the camera to cut on. So if there's people want to do vandalism, if they just want to put the system in lockdown because they think it's funny, we'll have that on film. Plus there's an emergency sounder built in there that'll kind of, when you open it up, make sound. So we've added a few features in it to try to deter vandalism. Here, this piece of glass you see, you can read Biology 101 through there. What that is, it's a piece of switchable glass. And when I say that, when we energize it, it'll turn opaque so you can't see through it. What we do is we take that glass and we put it in a light kit in the door, so when the system goes into lockdown, when you walk down the hall, the doors will shut, lock, the glass will go opaque and you can't see in the room. So if there's a person with a gun or something in the hall, they really don't know if there's people in the room or not. So that's the purpose of that. This unit down here, we call it the room door control. This is the local control for, say, a professor. If this was his classroom environment, and since we're functioning electrically now, he can lock and unlock the door at his leisure, and he can control it, always remembering that central command, which may be kind of represented by the computer over here, where you see this is a graphical shot of a map, and you can control everything in the entire system, regardless of how big it is, right from that map. That will always trump the local control. If he's got the door open and locked and you need to put it into lockdown from central command, you can override whatever he's doing locally. But this makes the system functional, and just to give you an idea, when you lock the door, nobody has to touch anything. Door shut, lock automatically, and that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the way this part works. Now I'm going to bring on Matt, a partner, and Matt's done a lot of the programming here. He's going to walk you through and show you a lot of how the individual equipment really works when it's activated, and get a little more in detail in the next segment.
All right, now we're going to take a look at the actual components and how they interact with one another and interact in the full system. We start off in the first frame, as Scott explained. This is kind of a representation of what would be outside the building. We're going to look at actual lockdown in just a minute. when we get down back to the other end. But here I have a smart card. This could be a mag stripe. It could be a regular old Prox card. You could actually use a PIN number, as Scott demonstrated earlier. This is a smart card. I just swipe my card, the door unlocks, and I open it up. It relocks once the door is opened, and the door closes again. The door contact tells the system that the door has opened. On the primary command down the end, they saw the door open, they saw the door closed, they saw who did it. The strobe light will go off in just a minute when we do the lockdown scenario. All right, now that we are in our hallway scenario of our demo unit, we're going to take a brief look at what an alarm keypad will add as far as functionality to your system that you've already installed in Access Control. So what we have here mounted on the wall is an alarm keypad with two-line display, gives updated information on the actual status of the alarm, and then attached to it is the optional card reader. Now the card reader, once again, back to the old debate of which kind of cards you'd like, whether MagStripe or Prox or Smart, or even a fingerprint reader if that's what you desire. But in any case, we're going to use the optional card reader to authenticate to the PIN pad. If you didn't have that optional reader, you would then just use a PIN number like every other alarm system. So we're just going to present a card that is able to disarm the alarm, and then simply press the arm button. That would arm the system and give you an exit delay in order for you to leave the building. Once that exit delay is over, the alarm is armed and waiting for an event to happen, such as if someone's come in the building and they open the front door, the alarm would go in entry delay, allowing you to come over, authenticate with your card again, and hit the disarm button, and now the system's disarmed. If this alarm system was armed and someone broke in, did not authenticate, or for instance, broke open an armed door that is an interior door and therefore not on the entry delay, it would instantly go into alarm, notifying your central station, such as your police department. And in addition, with an additional piece of hardware called a dialer, it can also notify an external jurisdiction, such as the county police or the city police, using an external monitoring company, such as Security Central or various other organizations. So, and that information, that ability to externally notify the local county police is a simple check mark in the software to enable or disable that monitoring. If, for instance, no one was going to be monitoring your system and you wanted to flip over to an external monitor, you check the box, walk away. In the next segment, I'm going to discuss the lockdown system, the actual putting the system into lockdown and putting it into emergency. When we do that, we'll discuss our basement shelter and setting off the cameras automatically. All right, now that we are in our third phase of the demo unit, which is essentially a classroom or a suite office area, anywhere where a lot of people may gather, or you may have a person or multiple people spending a lot of time. We have a whole lot going on in this one section, and so I'm going to try to keep it as concise as possible. Right now we have the door set up on its mag hold open, just like Scott described earlier, which is vitally important that people do not put anything up under the door or have to put anything under the door in order to keep the door open. That way, in the case of a lockdown scenario, or even if just at the end of the day we want every door in the building to close and latch and know it's closed and latched, then the mag hold open allows us to do that all at once. We can sweep the whole building and close and latch every door in the building. Then the operators of the software would just need to look at the software and go, oh, well, that door didn't close. We have to go close that one. But we don't have to check every door because this door has a door contact on it, had a hold open, and the door closer closed it automatically. What we're going to take a look at real quick is we're going to look at the operation of the door when it's unlocked, when it's locked, and the various methods that the door can be locked and unlocked from both the local door, from the professor control room control button, and from the actual software itself in Home Station. Right now the door is propped open and locked. If the professor needs to unlock that door, he can just reach over and press his unlock button. You'll notice my green light above the door came on, and the illuminated button over here to lock the door is also lit. The purpose of that is so that if the lights are out, there's always a method in which to find the button in which locks the door. So even if the door was closed, the light would still be lit because the door is unlocked. When you press the button, it'll go out. We'll show you that in just a second. The professor can then control his door, and preferably we put this behind where his desk would be, his or her desk, and they would be able to lift this cover if it's installed. You don't necessarily have to get the cover, and then just press the lock button, and you notice the door locked and closed at the same time. They can have a private meeting in this case, or maybe they just need to close and lock the door to finish up some work. And then when they're back into normal daily operations, they reach over, press the unlock button, and now they can let their students in. If someone knocked on the door, they knew who it was already. If we had our electric glass in the door and they could see them, they wanted to go ahead and let access, they would press the unlock button, the door would unlock. They would never even have to get up. So then they open the door, and you can put it back on the hold open. The emergency lockdown pull station we're going to discuss here right now. Essentially, we would place these, we vision them in every classroom, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in every classroom. It could be in a hallway or a common area, anywhere where enough people will be around that if there is an emergency that you need to lock down the building, one of these will be relatively close to those populated areas. If we lift the cover, you'll notice, if you can see the screen, which I'm going to zoom in just a second, when you lift it, you cause an alarm, and the camera that's right here, it's looking back at you, will show up on the screen, and that allows the central station to then watch who is playing with the cover if they're not actually going to pull the pull station. So you see the door is unlocked, the light is on above the door showing it's unlocked, and the door is open. This glass, you can see that since you can read the text on the blackboard behind it, you can see that the glass is clear. When I pull this pull station, a lot of things are going to happen all at once, so when I pull it, I'm going to describe it. So I pulled the pull station. It's much like a fire alarm, except ours are blue, so we don't get the fire and emergency lockdown mixed up. Once I pulled that station, you'll notice the door closed and locked. The green light is off. The electric glass is now opaque, so you cannot read the text behind it. We put that inside the door. Now anyone outside the room, if they cannot see inside the room to be able to see if there's anybody inside. You'll notice my red LED above the door is on. That indicates to everyone in the room, and we put those above various doors, usually every classroom, to let everyone in that room know what's going on. It's a very broad announcement to everybody, so everyone in the building all at the same time knows we're in lockdown. I do not need to leave this room. As we travel further down the building, I will show you this card is the one that Scott has been holding all day, and this card belongs to the school administrator. So she is allowed in this building anytime she wants to be in. So she swipes her card, and the door unlocks and lets her in. Now this gentleman here is non-essential personnel. I have labeled he's actually a custodian. So he's a non-essential personnel. He comes over and swipes his card. He's no longer allowed in the building because we're in lockdown. Now, and unfortunately, my strobe light switch, this switch right here, I apologize, that switch is actually just so that we don't get blinded while we do this demonstration. But that strobe light then would be going off during lockdown only, and that would alert everybody outside the building that that building is in lockdown. Therefore, they don't need to approach that building. They need to get away from that building and perhaps even call the police or take shelter. From the back over here on this end, you'll notice that the system is now blinking two different alarms, one for the pull station cover and one for the actual pull station. We know exactly where it happened. The camera opened up, showing us where it happened, and then it activated all the rest of the cameras in the building. So now we can watch if we can find whatever problem or whatever individual caused the initial lockdown scenario. We also then go to our map, and we can see exactly on our map which device is causing the lockdown. And then once the problem has alleviated itself, we, at the click of a button, return the system to normal. The electric glass is now clear again. The emergency lockdown lights are off, and we are once again able to open our door and put it back on the mag. And that is emergency lockdown.
Well, now that you've had an opportunity to see what we can do with the access control lockdown system, we just wanted to take a minute. We appreciate your time looking at it. And I did want to point out that this system is mobile. We can break this down in two pieces and travel with it. If you have a group or someone that wants to see what we can do with lockdown and how it might fit into your situation, we'd be glad to schedule a time, come out and set it up. And it's a lot more here, then you can ask questions and a lot more detail about the software and stuff like that. We'd be more than happy to come out and show you. And one important thing I did want to point out before we leave is this system, I just want to tell you a little bit, this system is based on RS2 Technologies, which is a software platform that's grounded in what we call open architecture. And when I say that, what I mean is there's never any vendor lock-in. Everything you see up here and all the back-end stuff that's going on with the control boards, if someday down the road something were to happen and you wanted to move away from RS2 Technologies or National Security Indoor, there's no loss of investment. All this equipment can be moved to someone else's platform. It's simply a firmware download, and then they can kind of take over all the equipment. And so you never are stuck with anything. And that's important because this, you know, when this is full grown, it is a considerable investment on a large scale, and so it's just important to know that you never get stuck after you invest in something. So once again, we appreciate your time. Give us a holler or give us email or touch bases with us if you got any questions, and we'll be glad to share some more information, and we thank you for your time.